Elemental is down for 2 minutes. It might be up by then, but yeah,
it should be.
be.
Oh shit, I'm hitting here. Oh, tornado? Dude, I was in the air and I didn't get killed from that fucking dive.
What a goat tornado.
Tornado just saved my life.
Wait, are taking the tornadoes to play? Maybe we should have done it all.
Oh, what?
Wow, you should have got hit by a tornado. That's all I'm
Dude,
saying.
that was invisible.
What happened, I think, is I got knocked up by a
Oh,
tornado,
and then it picked you in the air.
In the air.
Dude, that's the worst.
Like, caught on the planter here.
We got twins! Twins!
Yo, what's going on, everyone? So this is a 27 Black Rook hold on Tyrannical Storming Raging Week. So starting things off, I always start by going left here. And with it being Raging Week and the fact that these ads here do quite a bit of damage to the group, I am just going to do a smaller pull at the beginning and start here. We are going to go ahead and lust though. So things to watch out for, you want to make sure that you're getting kicks on the star marked ad here, the one that does the cast. And then the ones that are marked with moon and square do like a single target dot on people. You can see the red hard cast being cast there, not by Skull but by the other ones. Those ones are best to use stops on because they do a lot of damage. You can see it ticking on like SAS right now down on the bottom screen there. But those are things you're going to want to try to stop. Obviously, once Raging kicks in, unless you have a soothe of some sort, you're not going to be able to get rid of those, but you do want to take care of that. One thing to note is that the mob that got marked as Skull, this one right here, when it does its like soul ability where it like starts channeling on something, it actually takes double damage. So when it starts getting that point, if you want to just start attacking it, it will take extra damage there. So after dealing with that, we are just going to do the small 3-pack, and I know this seems like pretty small of a pull to do, you know, to split those two up there when it is a Tyrannical key. But again, the fact that this is Raging really does hinder you when it comes to like getting stops. If you have an extra retainer here, getting off those attacks and picking random people and just like putting a bleed or that, you know, effect on them, it really escalates quickly, and you can really quickly snowball into 1 death, 3 deaths, 20 deaths. Maybe not 20, but you know, something like 10. So just, you know, this dungeon has so much time on it, it's better to just take it slow and steady here at the very beginning. So coming up next, we come into this area with the mini boss get marked at star, and then the other ads are in here again, except for there's 2 retainers this time, not the one that does channeling. So the thing to know is that the mini boss here is a like one of the super elites or whatever that can't be like stunned or, you know, stopped with anything but kicks. So what we do is we get kicks on the mini boss while we focus using our like single target or AoE stops on the channeler there. That way it doesn't actually, like, you know, we're putting single target kicks into the main mob that's going to do the most damage to everything, but we're still making sure that the other casts aren't going off as much as possible. Obviously, once Raging kicks in, that starts to become an issue, and you can see we lost our priest and our shaman there. Ideally, probably best to just start rolling defensives there, but it wasn't something we were thinking about at the moment. We probably should have done that, but again, Raging is how it is. We're used to having a hunter in our group. She's out this week, so we've got our buddy who's filling in on his paladin. So yeah, we just weren't really prepared for that. So after this mob gets, everything else is dead and it gets to about 20%, as soon as you get your kick and you have like the rest of the kicks to go, you can start going and moving into the boss room like I just did there. That's just to start the RP because there's a little bit of RP. Obviously the RP after the boss isn't avoidable, but you can avoid this RP by just running ahead and activating it and then coming back. So once we get this boss pulled, ideally I just pull it over to one side. Some people like to use the corner there, but I like to use the side, and the reason for that is if you've got multiple melee in your group, which I know isn't a lot like a large thing this season because you know, there's a lot more casters being played, but if you have a lot of melee like I have 3 melee in my group, when they get that like soul circle on them, being in the middle here as opposed to on the corner allows them to, you know, place those circles in a way that it's not gonna like take over the entire room. So you can see our melee have an easy time of either just like getting around or moving, and our shaman there probably even was moving a little bit faster than you need to. Those circles, when they come out, the fear effect that comes from them going off doesn't happen until the 3rd circle is laid. So you can literally like have 2 go down, move, have 2 go down, move, have 2 go down, move, and just keep on repeating that movement as a melee to like conserve room. Obviously, when that frontal comes out, we do want to avoid it. If you're using just regular roll, you can just roll once, it'll move out, and then you can roll back in. It's really nice because you don't go super far. If you're using Cheat Torpedo, you do go pretty far, so maybe just walk out. If you get hit by that, it just like amplifies all damage that you take, so ideally you just don't get hit by it. It's really easy to avoid. And then obviously, range have to deal with that spinning scythe. If you get any scythes that are close from range just being in melee, you might just want to move to the boss to a different side here, but I generally try to keep it towards the side where we're going, otherwise it's easy for me to get lost because I have small brain. Alright, once it gets to 50%, he is going to do his like second intermission phase or whatever, where he starts summoning souls. A lot of people try to put damage in here, and you definitely can. These ads are only affected by stuns and roots, so you can't like paralyze them. They can be knocked back as well, though. So you'll notice I got a touch of like the touch of death here, just to like take care of one of the higher health ones. And you can see I put down my ring of peace when they all get close, just to keep knocking them away. You can knock away literally every single one if they're not slowed by just putting down that ring of peace and having them knocked back. So that's something that has to do. If you play Vengeance Demon Hunter, which I'm sure a lot of people do, you can use Sigil of Chains to group one side and then group the other side, and that can help to like give you extra time and also get them together to AoE. But unfortunately, as a brew, the best option is just throw your ring of peace in the middle and just kind of give yourself some extra time there. If you do have a root effect, like a hunter with a trap, you can trap one out there. Actually, I think trap doesn't work, so I think it needs to be like a boomkin who can root, or an evoker who can root. And if you root one out there, then you just get like free damage on the boss where he doesn't do anything. Obviously, after that effect ends, I get near everyone because I'm using the ability that makes everyone take 4% less AoE damage, and so being near everyone when everyone's using defensives and he does his like big blow up cast after the intermission is ideal. That way everyone else is taking less damage. But after that, it's just rinse and repeat, as you can see here, exactly the same as phase 1, so nothing really to talk about here. Now, unfortunately, there is like a 30-second RP after you finish the boss, which is kind of unfortunate. If you have any people who are using the Signet brand DPS trinket off of Smolderon, which isn't really ideal for most keys, but for high Tyrannical keys, it can be especially helpful for the long bosses. If you have any people using that, there is a soul that is like flying around out here, and you're going to notice as we're waiting for this RP, we pull it. That's because our warrior is using Signet brand, so you can pull that. You'll also notice I just put down my doll. That's so that if it dies, he can come over. The doll allows you to get one hit. It's just a toy. I don't know the exact name, but if you type in doll in the search thing, it'll show up. But here is that soul. So we're just pulling this so he can just try to keep his stacks a little bit longer. Not needed by any means. It doesn't give you any count. That's just why we're pulling that soul. Now, going up here, these spiders can be pretty deadly with how this dot goes on, even on a Tyrannical key. So at 27, even though it's not fortified, they are going to be doing a lot of damage. One thing to note about this debuff is that if you have the shield up from Cell Brew or from the Farok Trinket or any type of other shield, you actually won't get this applied to you. Also, good thing to know is that we can completely remove this debuff twice. Well, once if you play with Diffuse Magic, that allows you to just remove it. I don't think it transfers to any of the other mobs, but it does allow you to remove it. And then if you're a dwarf, obviously you can dwarf it off, whether you're a regular dwarf or Dark Guard dwarf. So that's super helpful to be dwarf in this dungeon for that. You can see there I got LOS went a little bit fast up the stairs there and line of sight my healer, and I didn't have a chance to do anything about it, so I cheated using the cheat dot trinket, which unfortunately for me is still 437, still super unlucky. So I normally pull the big spider and the two small spiders up to this next pack. We deal with the Risen Scout and these together. As soon as the Scout and the spider are dead, I am going to pull into the next group after the frontal, so just good timing. With the Risen Scout, it's ideal here to use things like Paralyze. You can also use your Leg Sweep, and you can use Ring of Peace to stop the Fang of Knives. Obviously, after 30%. With Raging, you can't do that anymore, so it's ideal to kind of like make that a priority. Any of these mobs that do those effects, make those a priority after they hit 30%. But you can see once the spider's dead, I'm just going to wait for this champion to do the frontal, and then I'm going to move into this next pack here. Now, in the next pack, making sure to get kicks on the caster is super important, as to also point the frontal away from the other mobs. Now, there is an archer in this pack, so again, once it like jumps out to do barrage, you can use things like paralyze again, ring of peace. Obviously, leg sweep only works if you're close to it. You can see there I used paralyze to stop it. You could use ring of peace to get it knocked back in. I'm just going to kind of pull over once the caster's dead, since everything else moves. If you're feeling comfortable with it and it's not a raging week, you can definitely do this this pull with the next pull, assuming you have a lot of CC. It's not too bad, but with it being raging, again, I'm just kind of going slow and steady because there's lots of time on the ski. It's not a like you need to go super fast thing. So the next one does have an archer and a scout, and then it is another scout and a cat that leaps, that jumps in on people who pat into this group. It's super ideal to make sure that you're like nuking down the cat so that it's not doing as much damage, because it does put on that like nasty bleed effect on people. And obviously you want to, if you're ranged or if you just happen to be a melee that gets away from the group, you want to make sure that you are being away from other people, because that cat jump will cleave. So again, just be careful with pointing the frontals around. We are using things again like paralyze and leg sweep. You saw I just used there to stop another ability from one of our new resin scouts that came in, and again, just kind of taking care of it that way. Again, make sure to just point the frontal away. That guy is not super important. Some people like to think that he is. He's not at all. He doesn't do anything besides the frontal. All you have to do is point him away. He's super easy to deal with. Definitely prioritize these scouts, especially below 30%. Alright, once that pack's done, we're going to move into the next one. This one has another caster and the teleport ad, and then it has 2 archers and a knife dude again, the scouts. So again, just we like to nuke down the caster first while getting out CCs. Again, I try to use as many single target CCs as possible when single mobs are casting at once. But if you can get multiple at the same time, then it's a good time to use like things like ring or leg sweep. There, I chose to use ring just to push the archer back into the group. Unfortunately, the next archer comes out. I tried LOS over here, but unfortunately, the archer just will target random people, so he didn't want to move, so I just come back. But again, once that's dead, we burst down the archers there, and again, now once the scout hits 30, we do want to nuke him down. If you aren't able to nuke him down and he starts his fan of nice going off, you can LOS behind either of these pillars or any of like the weird wall segments, and you just won't take any damage from the fan of knives. So it is best to line of sight as you pull this next group, because it allows them to all get grouped up really nicely, and make sure everyone does move so that the archers all come together. This is another good spot where you can definitely make use of the AoE stuns like leg sweep or ring of peace and stuff like that to just stop multiple either barrages or fan of knives going off at the same time. Just be careful here, because it is easy when you've got multiple people avoiding 2 barrages and a frontal to just like have things just not go well. Unfortunately, there we had our healer go down to the fan of knives that we just didn't get a kick on fast enough. So, and by kick I mean a stun, stop, whatever, paralyze, whatever it is. But once the scout is dead, there's not a whole lot of damage that goes out here. So like it is a pretty long run back. It is recommended that if you're close to finishing it off, just have your if anyone dies, have them just be res, because it's faster if you have resers. Obviously not you, because it's a 10-second cast, because you hopefully have no haste as a Brewmaster. And you can just go up, and it's super safe to pull this next pack. It's got 2 archers and another champion, so avoid the frontals. Pick who you're gonna use paralyze on when they jump away, or ring a piece, and just deal with it. You don't really need a healer for this. I just use chi wave to kind of just like help get heals out to people who need it. And when these archers jump away for the barrage and they get stunned, you can move around this pillar here. We can see we pinged it there and came around, and this, as long as everyone comes around, because again the archers will just pick anyone to shoot at, as long as everyone comes around, you can get it all together. Just be careful of the frontal when you do so. And it's real nice if you come up here, once they jump again, you can just go around the other side of that doorway and LOS again and get them all together. I try to do it on this side, forgetting that the guy's up the stairs, so then I just kind of switch the sides and deal with it. Obviously be careful of tornadoes, especially with the frontal going off. It's really easy to frontal the entire group if you take a tornado right before the frontal, so just be very careful of that. But unfortunately, we got in combat with this as our shaman who was resing the healer there got hit by a tornado because we all left him, and so our healer had to run back. So that's why it took a little bit longer than just resing. He did go to res, but tornado hit him. So if you got someone who's dead and it's tornado week, maybe soak a tornado for the people who are resing. Just word of the wise. Alright, second boss. This is where we use our second lust. We used our first lust on the first pull. We use our second lust on this boss just because he takes for freaking ever. And the bleeds do, tend to stack up very quickly, especially if you only have one range like we do here. He's going to continuously just pick that same target for the glaive, and they're going to very quickly run out of defensive, so just be careful of that. You will see then he picked 3 of us to kind of like charge at. We just kind of go over to one side, and even if I'm not picked, I'll go over with them because that ability is counted as like an AoE damage on the floor. So having that, them take 4% less AoE damage is helpful. When things get, when the ads spawn here during the intermission, definitely make sure to pick up the Vanguard guy, the guy who does the frontal, and just make sure that we're getting kicks on the caster. It's really not even important to be targeting these mobs here. You can just use focus kicks and make sure that you're moving the frontal away and just kind of keep on cleaving into the boss more. We put a little bit more damage into the caster. Really not needed. We really should just be focusing the boss here, but is what it is. Just be aware if the Vanguard doesn't die from cleave when he finishes the I-beam, you will have both up, and then so you just have that frontal to watch out for. As a tank during this boss, the only thing that you really need to be like super aware of is that as you go up in key level, and on Tyrannical especially, this Vengeful Shear that it does will start doing more and more and more damage. So it is ideal to try to have like a Cell Brew or some kind of defensive ready to go for when that hits you. And ideally, right after it hits you, Purify to clear a big chunk of your stagger, especially if it gets super duper high. You can see our healer here was starting to get overwhelmed by the glaives just being continuously thrown on them. And so, yeah, they went down. Now, one thing we found out is if you don't have any other ranged, you as the tank can be picked for the glaive. Which was kind of cool that it went on me and hopefully no one else, but I think it bounced onto all the other melee, unfortunately. So just be aware of that. If you only have one ranged and they die, and the glaive's about to come out, maybe just move away from everyone else. Have everyone just kind of spread real quickly because glaive might kind of go through everyone. So we found that out in this game. But again, you can see here, we just kind of using both sides of the room. We'll put one set of the fire 3-target ability on the right and one set on the left, and then we just kind of keep on repeating that. Now, one thing that you'll notice that our healer does after the intermission starts again, because we will get a second intermission with it being a 27 Tyrannical here. Unfortunately, it went down. But one thing you'll notice is that once this intermission starts, our healer, or whatever range, as long as they're able to do it, they can just jump up and down in one spot. Anyone who's watched the MDI this week, you probably saw some people doing that as well. It's just something that happens. Like, the tick rate is slower than how long it takes for you to like land and jump again. So if you just spam jump, you will never take any damage from the fire. So now, one thing to be careful of is, though, it does put multiple like puddles in the same spot, and multiple puddles will tick. So after you're done jumping in one spot, you do need to move, and if anyone runs through that spot where you're jumping in, they'll take a massive hit as long as they like stand still long enough for it to do damage. So just be careful of that. It is something nice that you can do if you have a mobile range that gets picked. In this case, there's not a whole lot of damage going out during the intermission, so our healer is just able to jump up and down. But yeah, so that's basically it. Just, rinses, repeats, and goes on and on, for a while here. Again, if you don't get picked for the 3-target ability, just make sure that you kind of move over this Dark Rush, move over with them so that they take less damage if you take that talent. If you don't, it's not needed to do that, but I definitely recommend on Tyrannical weeks as Brew taking that talent that gives you the 4% reduced AoE damage taken. Now, the first set of balls here, I feel like the first hallway here, these balls go way slower. I don't know what it is. I always feel safe using like Tiger's Lust going up that hallway, but the next staircase, I feel like the boulders either come faster or something, or maybe I just suck. I don't know. I don't recommend using speed on the second one. Now, this next pool, we have this Fellhound that's going to do cast. We've got the larger demon that's going to do like frontals that you'll need to watch out for. That's the one that you should be prioritizing down. But obviously, we've got all these little demons here that are going to try to drink their ancient potions. Now, this is really important to make sure that you are using like AoE stops to stop as many of these as possible. When you just have one going off, use things like Paralyze. You can also use Ring of Peace to stop multiple, or Leg Sweep. Unfortunately, I cheated because I came up here a little bit too fast and my healer was still down the stairs. I didn't realize, so I used my cheat death, so I didn't really have that, and I started taking quite a bit of damage. Now, the larger amount that you pull here, even on Tyrannical, you're going to want to definitely use things like Dampen Harm and Fort Brew. You see, I get very low. I even throw down Nizao to help with the stagger, and we do end up losing some people because once these things, again, hit 30%, they do rage. So you can see some of them will get this frontal fire that just kind of like shoots in one direction after he starts, and it's really easy to avoid. However, some of them will like enrage and get super large and get super buffed. That's not good. Definitely nuke those down as soon as possible. And then you get these other ones that do the spinning ability that you can see just happen there and hit me. They target and fixate one person, and then they just like spin after them. Now you can, if that happens and you get picked, you can literally just backpedal them. However, it is Storming Week, so be careful if you're backpedaling these that you don't run into a tornado, because they will just get underneath. Like if you're just backpedaling, you're fine to be safe, right? But if you run into a tornado, you will just have them underneath you spinning, and you'll land. And that's what happened to our paladin. He backpedaled into a tornado, and then the guy was just spinning underneath, waiting to kill him. So just be careful of that. I normally do those 2 pulls together, though. They're pretty easy. And then I take the rest, these 2 here, with the others pack over here. And they have the 2 larger demons, and then the smaller ones again. These ones, again, we just kind of like nuke down the 2 larger demons and cleave off those small ones. But again, once these hit 30%, if you don't have like an Invoker for the mass soothe on the enrages, or just something to help with getting rid of enrages, it is ideal to, try to maybe burst AoE down the rest of them from the 30%. So that these don't, do a whole lot of damage. Now, we choose, once we get our first demon down, because we like focus one of the large guys down, and then we kind of like focus on the second one. As he gets enraged, I do kite this a little bit, but once we get the other small guys down and we just have like half to a third health left of this guy, just for safety reasons, we have our best like ball runner go up the stairs a little bit earlier, so that they can start, just getting rid of the balls, giving people a chance to get up there without dying. I'm not saying I die from this a lot, but anytime I Tiger's Lust myself, I seem to run into a ball running up the second hallway. So I'm not gonna lie, I fucking suck at this. So just be very careful. You can see I'm just going slow and steady as I go up this. You definitely don't want to waste a death here, and if you have your cheat death available, this is like the worst spot that you can use cheat death on. Don't cheat death here. Be safe. Go slow and steady if you need to. Again, there's so much time on this key that like you don't have to go too fast. Now, through this next section, we take 2 of these larger Legionnaire guys together, and we just do 2 at a time. And basically, if you have 2 melee kicks, or really just 2 any kicks, should be able to cover, unless you have a Shadow Priest, 1 demon. So we have our warrior get the first kick on Star as I am going up the stairs and pulling the other pack, and then I'll get the second kick on Star. And then if you have a shaman in your group, shamans are able to just solo kick this. So we have our shaman just solo kick Diamond, and then our last person just be ready to like back him up if something happens or someone goes down to fill in for the last kick. If you don't have a shaman, then again you just put 2 on it. Alternatively, if you have a warlock and they put Curse of Tongues on these, you can get by with just 1 melee kick. As long as you wait to the very, very end of the cast to kick. If you kick at the very beginning, then you will need 2 kicks, because it's just the cast that's extended. So if you kick at the beginning, you won't be up back in time by the end. So just be careful with that. But once those are done, I just kind of go up, we grab the next one, and we pull this all the way to the boss. One thing to be careful of is, one of the easy things to do here is lose threats. So just remind people as you're going up these stairs and going around this corner that you are not going to have a whole lot of high threat, and for people not to go super ham on the mobs, because if they all target them, they're going to die. The other thing to watch out for when we're on the previous portion is, as you're standing there with the first 2 mobs, just be prepared to keep on like spinning crane kick or being ready to like throw kegs onto any of the new bats that are coming. And if for whatever reason, if you do get a sick bats cast go off and everything gets enraged, be ready to throw down Ring of Peace, or be ready to leg sweep, just to like keep that person safe for a little bit longer time. Ideally, you leg sweep into Ring of Peace, and that should be the duration of the fixate. As long as your healer's good on mana, though, and you have kicks under control here, these mobs don't do any damage. So as soon as we get the first one dead here, we're going to pull into the second one because I realize my healer had gen enough mana to go. But if they're good on mana, like as soon as all the bats are dead, you can just go ahead and pull this boss. It's not a big deal. Now, we do this boss, basically when you get the knocks going off, you want to use defensives, and again, as the person with the reduced AoE damage, try to be near the rest of the group so that they aren't getting too badly beaten up. But here, our priest and our shaman probably have like the least good defensives for when the charge happens. You know, shamans do have the ability to go into Ghost Wolf, but they lose a lot of downtime by doing that. So what we'll do is we'll rotate having me, our warrior, and either our hunter, or in this case, our paladin, since our hunter's not here, take all three of these, and we'll just rotate taking the fixates. Every once in a while, you know, if they've got an extra defensive, we might let them take one. But because we've got, you know, a plethora of defensives, warriors can just go in D stance and then swap back real quick. It's really ideal for us to take those damage. So anyone that you can protect from having to use a defensive that they might need for the knockback or for something else, it is ideal to kind of avoid those. Now you'll notice I also start by tanking the boss in this back right corner, and this makes it ideal to really like put all the spits that are like, you know, this fixate that's going out all in kind of like one good corner. Unfortunately right there I didn't do that really well. I probably should have went on the other corner, but it really makes it easier for you to have a lot more room to take care of. Now you can run into the like poison stuff at the very last second, but I would not do it early because you can see I took a fuck ton of damage right there, and I was like, okay, that was not a good idea. I should definitely wait. You could diffuse magic and go into that, and I'm sure you'd be perfectly safe. But again, if you're going to go into the old poison to like drop that off, just make sure that you pop something. Or do it at the very last second, because you can survive a couple ticks, but anything more than that, you'll start to take a lot. So here you can see as the fight prolongs, we can kind of like start running out of good space here. So just be careful of that and make sure that you are trying to use the room as efficiently as possible. Now, one other thing to note, as a Brewmaster, we uniquely have the ability to actually take every single one of the charges. I don't recommend doing it, especially if you have a group that has like lots of defensives, because you lose a lot of damage to it. But the way our mastery works is that every time that we blackout kick or that we dodge, or sorry, not dodge, but get hit, we get stacks of our mastery, right? And depending on how high your mastery is, if you've ideally got about 20% mastery, that's kind of what I suggest to aim for. And I use like weapon runes to help myself get to that 20%. As long as you do that and you get to 5 stacks, if you've already taken a hit, you are guaranteed to dodge the next attack, because, you know, that happens. However, in order to get to that 5 stacks most of the time, unless you can like get a lot of blackout kicks and get lucky with, you know, getting hit right in a row many times, the best way to do that is to turn your back to the boss and just let him melee you, because then you definitely can't dodge it, and then right before the charge goes, you get in front and then you'll dodge it. Again, I don't recommend doing that once your keys get higher and higher, because you do need so much of your damage. The only damage you can do from behind is spinning crane kick, so not really ideal. But it is something you can do in a pinch if you like absolutely need to soak something from someone who doesn't have a defensive. You can always just kind of hope and pray that 3 stacks is enough and that your 60% dodge is going to get you through it, or, you know, however many stacks you have, or you can just rely on turning your back to it. So up here, normally this is really safe to pull all 12 of these guys together. You can just go all the way up the stairs, just making sure you got good threat. But I was reminded that it's Raging Week and that we normally use stops to stop our like Raven Dive, this ability where they jump. So I came back down so that we had a little bit more room and didn't have to deal with the rug and all these at once. Probably still would have been fine to just do all 12 together. They really don't do that much damage as long as you don't get hit by the frontal or the dives. So the way this works is that the ones that do the dives, right, they'll jump on a player, so obviously try not to have your ranged people near you because they do prioritize range, and then so you just don't stay in the circle. The way the other mobs work is they do a hard cast, and what they'll do is they'll frontal anything directly right in front of them. But you can easily, because they don't move once they start this hardcast, you can easily just sidestep it. So you'll see I generally, when I do these pulls, I just kind of like go around in a circle, and as soon as I start to see them hardcast, I'll just move to the left or move back 2 feet and not really get hit. So yeah, really easy to deal with. One thing we found out here, as you heard from the beginning of my video, if you get hit up in the air by a tornado and one of the divers pick you while you're in the air, you don't see their circle because it's above you in the air. So that's what killed our priest there. Watch out for that. But we did find, again, as you saw maybe in the beginning there, that if the dive's underneath you, sometimes the tornado can save you. I'm not sure that's what happened. It kind of seemed like it did. I didn't get hit by it, but I wouldn't rely on tornadoes to save your lives from dive. I would just, move out of them. Again, up here, one thing to be careful with this room, especially this is the room I normally go into, the dives underneath this bear rug are hard to see because rugs are apparently, above mechanics in this World of Warcraft game. Some of you who played Karazhan know that, and all the ground effects that spawned underneath the rugs there are fun. But this bookshelf on the right here, there's like a little statue or like a ledge in the bookshelf that you can get into as a ranged. And the divers will pick you, but because they land on the ground, not on the bookshelf, you don't get hit. That's why I do believe that the tornadoes here did save me that time from getting hit. So if you have like multiple range, you can just have them stand up on one of these statues or a bookshelf or something, and it will land underneath the shelf or the statue or whatever they stand on. I just want to stand on the very top of the bookshelf, but yeah, so that's what you can do. Now, on Tyrannical, this is where you want to use your third lush. You want to pop everything imaginable to survive here. So, as a DPS, you want to pop all your offensives, your pots, lust, everything you got. And you want to make sure your people on this high of a key level are using defensives here. So we have our shaman using Earth Ellie just for extra health. We have people just rotating defensives here because the shadow bolts that come out, you can see how much they're chunking every single one of the players in here. And there's not a whole lot of damage going out on us at the beginning, but as soon as we get to 3 stacks of this debuff on us, it starts to really hurt. So as soon as, I would use things like Cell Brew and Purifying Brew up to 3 stacks, and after that, start rotating defensives. You can see at 4 there, I just hit my Dampen Harm. So I did use Cell Brew and my Shield Trinket before that. But as soon as 4 came up, really 5 is just really, really going to hurt. You can see as the next demon spawns here, I'm still taking massive amount of damage here. So really just trying to purify what I can. I just popped right there my Fort Brew to give myself extra defensives. And then when this Shadow Bolt Volley comes out, again, make sure you're near everyone so they're getting reduced AoE damage. Use defensive. I like to even diffuse magic here. I know as tank you don't get a whole lot by it, but any extra damage you can reduce so that your healer doesn't have to heal up is ideal. Next, once these bugs come out, you can just target them down. I generally save my Touch of Death for when our shaman gets picked by the parasite, because they don't have as good defenses. They have to go Ghost Wolf, so it's just more ideal. Save it for whoever has the least good defensive or is going to lose the most uptime from either having a turtle or something like that, because obviously you want them to die quickly. So I save Touch of Death for that. If this was fortified, we would normally save our lust for right after that spin cycle, because that's when you get the damage amp and the boss is up for a long time. But again, on Tyrannical, we do use it at the beginning because it is a fight to survive the Shadow Bolt Volleys and for us as the tank to survive that dot. After this, the Shadow Bolt Volley goes out, this dot really just doesn't do as much. I think it's the fact that this buff helps protect us. So here, anytime that a volley goes out, I do just throw out Chi Wave whenever I have it up, just to do some extra healing. Every once in a while, you might see me throw out a Vivify, but basically we're just pumping as much damage into the boss to beat the timer and beat the next spin cycle. And again, anytime that swarms are coming out, if you can have damage like Exploding Keg or Touch of Death, or you can see I just Touch of Death that one there because it was on our shaman, like I said. That's super ideal, because then it just means we can get more damage onto the boss. Do make sure that if you have someone who's a range who gets targeted by the mug, you'll notice all of our people stand right next to each other to bait the poison, not poison clouds, but the sleep clouds together, and so that when whoever gets picked by this swarm effect, we can just quickly nuke it down. You can see as we get to the second spin cycle, if you get one on the higher Tyrannical keys, you will have one of those stingers, the swarm guys, going into it. So you do want to take care of those as fast as possible and watch your timers here. But once that's done, again, here it's just a race against the clock. So we're just going to rinse and repeat. I'm going to keep on chi waving. I might throw up a couple heals, and we're just like doing as much damage as possible. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions about routing or why I picked what I picked or what I did, put them down in the comments. I'm really good about responding to questions and things that come up. If you have suggestions that you think I could have done better or things I could have changed, I'd love to hear them. I love to see those things too. I love to talk about it, so I'd love to hear it. And if you liked the video, please make sure to like and please consider subscribing. It helps me out. And if you have any other videos that you want to see or keys that you want to see done, please let me know, and I'll make it a priority for it being another future key and commentated guide. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.